Alright, so we're going to go ahead and check out or unbox this NedFoss knife. This is the final knife in the series of budget knives that I've been looking at as far as kind of the Chinese kind of cheap budget knives. I do want to do one more video on an American-made budget knife, kind of to end this series out, that I think is a good option for those of you who might be looking to get a budget knife but don't want to buy something that was made in China. And I honestly think it's a great option for you for that very reason. It's made in the U.S. and honestly, it's a great knife for the money. But this will be the excuse me, this will be the last one of the kind of Chinese steel budget knives. So this one I actually got in quite a while ago, but I've been kind of saving it to do a video. I bought this one mostly because I just liked the way that the blade itself looked. You can see this comes with a kind of a nylon webbing sheath. This one does actually have a belt loop on it, so if you wanted to actually wear it on your belt, you can do that. I see a lot more use for this than the review I did of the Sativian that came with the leather pouch with no way to attach it to your belt. But this makes a little more sense. I will probably never use it, but it's there if you wanted to utilize it. So looking at this, it is a very large knife all the way around. I mean, we're talking big in the hand. Again, I have very large hands and this thing fills the hands all the way up. It is big as far as thickness on the blade. That is a honking thick blade. Yeah, it's a big knife. So, but for as big as it is, it opens quite well. No problems there. You know, as far as overall, like I said, what attracted me to this knife was just kind of the look of the knife. The look of that blade shape. Just wipe that blade a little. It's just a really nice kind of look with almost like a spear type point. You've got this false edge on the back, a little bit of a swoop there. I like the style of this knife as far as what it looks like. This one is supposed to have ball bearing on it, which I believe is probably the case. My goodness, that blade is heavy. I mean, when it flips open, you can feel all that weight just slamming back against this stop pen, and it like torques your hand. It's so much weight in that blade. So I'm gonna just put this right out there, right off the bat. This is not gonna be most people's everyday carry, unless you're like, you know, 6'8" and 300 pounds. Maybe this thing fits good in your hand and feels good in your pocket, but you know, it does have the pocket clip, so you can carry it in the pocket or you can carry it in the sheath. Honestly, just based on the weight of this thing, I can understand that sheath a little bit more. Makes a little more sense that you might want to do that. But looking at this knife, yeah, it's just huge. Just a huge blade for a folding pocket knife. Looks pretty good. It feels sharp, but not shaving sharp. I think this thing would need maybe just a little bit of time on a strop to bring it up to shaving. It definitely will cut, but it doesn't feel like it's there at the shaving level. Supposed to be a D2 steel in the blade. Now, I've noticed that it seems like every knife nowadays is listed as D2 steel. So all these budget knives, it's always D2, whether or not they're actual D2 or what the quality of the D2 is. That always remains to be seen based on, you know, using the knife. But that's what they claim, D2. G10 handle. Now, I will say this looks like it probably is G10, but they way over polished this G10. It is entirely slick. There's no grip whatsoever, no texture whatsoever to that G10 scale. So, you know, normally one of the things about G10, I don't even know if I can fit this whole knife in the frame when I'm holding it. It's just so big. But G10 is supposed to provide some grip usually. That's one of the benefits of the G10 is that texturing, and there's just no texturing on here at all. So definitely don't have to worry about it shredding up your pocket, but you also don't have to worry about it giving you any extra grip. The blade overall, supposedly, I haven't actually obviously taken out a tape measure to measure this, but this is supposed to be 3.9 inches. So it falls just under that 4-inch blade length. which again is sometimes a requirement in certain areas that a blade be under 4 inches. So according to this, you would be under that amount. I'd like to get a tape measure on that and just double check that. That's probably right. It just feels so much bigger than that, just probably because of how beefy it is. Um, Overall, 9¼ inches. So from tip to the bottom here, we're looking at 9¼ inches. That sounds about right. Definitely fills the hand. Like I said, I have big hands, and you can see I've got some of it actually sticking out here as I hold it. Um, I just don't know that I've ever held a flipper style knife that was anywhere near this beefy. Um, I doubt that the build quality would hold up true on this, but this thing feels like a tank. I mean, it feels like you could just use this as a weapon without the blade itself even deployed. Just how hefty it is, you could probably do some damage with that. I don't know. This is one of those pieces that I think it's fun to have. I don't know how much utility it has. Um, it's so big that I think your only use would be as almost like a folding camp knife. But honestly, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to use a Chinese steel blade for that. I just don't think the steel is going to hold up to the kind of abuse that a camp knife would go under. And most people, you're not going to use a folding knife for a camp knife anyway, just because they're not made to withstand the same kind of abuse as a fixed blade. But if I was going to do it, if I was going to go the folding knife route, I don't know that it would be this. I guess I could give it a shot. You're not out a ton of money if you know the thing gets beat up. But maybe you just want a cool looking knife that you're not going to put through a lot of abuse. I definitely like the look of the knife. I like the shape of the blade. That's what attracted me to it in the first place. As far as quality of the build, it's hard to get over just how clunky and thick everything is. It makes it feel like it's well built because it feels like it's built like a tank. I don't see anything loose or sloppy. Blade is just slightly off center, but pretty well centered, all things considered. Uh, as far as, yeah, there's not really any play in that blade. Now, one of the things I noticed on my previous video, when I do this, for some reason on the camera, it does look like that blade's moving around. But like I can tell you on this one, I'm doing that, and that blade's not moving at all. So I don't know why that illusion almost occurs on the camera where it looks like the blade's moving. I had that Sativian that I did a review on, and I remember it moved a little bit in hand, and on the video it looked like it was wobbling all over the place. So this one's not though. There's no play in the blade. Really hefty. I really wish at this point I had a scale I could put it on to tell you how heavy this thing is. But if you want a big, chunky knife and you don't want to spend a lot of money for it, one that looks cool, one that if it gets busted up or marred, you're not gonna, feel bad about because you didn't spend a whole lot of money on it, I would say this might be a good option for that. I think you'll notice I'm not really shutting this thing with one hand. I'm afraid of that heavy blade coming down on my hand. It kind of has a little bit of a stop there. You're definitely not drop shutting this thing. Right there, you can hear it even. That D10 is way too tight for you to overcome it without using your other hand to do it. So there's definitely a solid stop right there. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm trying to struggle to think of an actual use or purpose for this knife, a slot or something that would fit in well. That as far as utilizing it, I can't think of an area of use for this knife that it would fit well in, other than just maybe looking cool. But that being said, sometimes it's okay for a knife to just look cool. So generally, if I'm going to get a knife that I want to just look cool, I probably at least try to spend a little bit more money and get something that I know has some quality behind it. But again, if you're on a budget and you want a cool looking knife, this might not be a bad option. I can't say that I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. If you can find a use for it and you can think of something that it would be good for, then I'd say go ahead. It feels like it's well made. It looks like it's well made. I don't see any visible issues with it at all. Just understand that you're getting a beast of a knife. That is a big chunk of sharpened steel right there.